Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. Thanks for staying with the show. Let's focus in on sport, and this is going to be dedicated to rugby because World Rugby Player of the Year, Pieter Steph du Toit, remains without a contract. The World Cup winning forward used the contract opt-out afforded by the Rugby Industry Financial Impact Plan to say he will no longer be with the Stormers, although it appears that the player does want to stay in the country and specifically at Western Province. SARU announced on the weekend that they have taken 1.2 billion rand from the sports budget through salary reductions, cuts to operational budgets, and savings from cancelled competitions. I spoke to author and rugby journalist Sibusiso Mjikeliso.
That's the most diabolical situation, is that going into the weekend, Pieter Steph du Toit, the World Rugby Player of the Year, World Cup winning Pieter Steph du Toit, is without a contract. He's a free agent. Literally, he's a free man. But at the same time, he is probably the most powerful man in rugby at the moment because he can have anybody tap dancing to his tune at the moment. Now, what I understand, if we're going to go on the factual side, what I understand is that he opted out of the contract purely to negotiate a new contract. So a post-COVID-19 contract that will then satisfy what he wants, which probably had terms that he didn't like in his existing contract. So these are things like image rights, maybe certain release clauses, whether if he wants to take a sabbatical, go to Japan to make up the money that he's probably not lost per se, but the shortfall for not going overseas.
You speak about valuable World Cup winners, and Makazole Mapimpi is one of those guys that are right at the top of the list. Why didn't he go overseas, and why didn't he sign a contract to go overseas? Because there was big money being touted for him.
Yeah, I think for Makazole, it's probably a personal decision. The idea that he would just have to pack up and leave. Look, he's on a very, very good contract at the Sharks. He's obviously one of the pony players, and that means that SA Rugby tops up his Sharks contract. So he gets paid by SA Rugby as well as the Sharks in order for him to get a decent enough contract as a Springbok player, as a Springbok World Cup winner. And he gets match fees and obviously the commercial side of things related. So he's not necessarily on a poor contract at the Sharks, that so much so that the 9 million that's rejected looks a lot worse. No, it's not at all. It's purely a decision of whether did he want to maximize his earning potential right now.
There was a couple of guys that did opt out, and one that opted out from the Lions was Malcolm Marx. Were you surprised by that at all?
Slightly, yeah. But I'd heard that it's on the cards. Obviously, Malcolm had gone to Japan, and he was on loan in Japan, playing there after the World Cup. And I thought that situation might have suited him and definitely would have suited the Lions, because that meant that he could come back, play for them again in Super Rugby, Currie Cup, play for the Springboks. But him opting out, I think he's in a sort of a Pieter Steph situation where he is regarded as one of the best hookers in the world. And he will get offers in Japan. I'm not sure if he's necessarily taken up a new offer, but there is the rumor that he might go to Japan for a year and then come back, or a year or two, and then come back to an alternative South African franchise that isn't the Lions. And I think that played more of a factor than necessarily what's happening now. I think he's playing chess moves 2-3 years down the line ahead of time. So we're talking smart representatives here that think about these things, and so he's not lost to South African rugby for good. So I think for now he's going to give himself 2-3 years to give himself a good earning potential, because he's another one. He was raised by a single mother, raised with 2 boys. So he's probably thinking about his family. He's thinking about his mom, thinking about about how can I have a comfortable home for my mother, make sure that she never needs to worry about anything for as long as she's alive, for as long as I'm alive. So Malcolm's probably thinking about those things. And to be fairly honest, the Lions probably shot themselves in the foot by having a very, very inexperienced coaching staff. He probably looked at the team and thought, the coach is new and is inexperienced. The team didn't do so well without me, and we don't have really great players. We haven't signed good players in and around.
That's rugby writer Sibusiso Mjikeliso speaking about the movement on the rugby front. Pieter Steph du Toit remains without a contract. Let's conclude our sport with the show.